Hello. I'd like to have a study with y'all about uh, light and darkness. Light and darkness. Um, I guess, first of all, I'd just like to say that there are a lot of videos out there on YouTube about this subject. Um, on my channel, I have at least two or three very in depth studies on this subject. And if you'd like to look them up and watch them, I think you'd be blessed to gather some of that knowledge and information on those videos to yourself. And of course, all knowledge and wisdom comes from Yahuah, not from any man. And so we can only listen to what our Master teaches us through his servants. Uh, and then our job is to discern between good and evil. And we can only do that through mature eyes, through mature spiritual walk that we have established in ourselves through Yahusha indwelling us. Okay? So before we get started too deep on this um, light and darkness subject, um, I'd just like to say that uh, this seems to be a problem for the body of Yahusha, this subject. Um, it seems like the body gets along pretty well for the most part until somebody throws a calendar into the mix or into the conversation. And then it seems like all kinds of divisions start happening and angers flare and people separate. So, although it's a touchy subject and we should handle this subject, especially if we're talking to somebody else, kind of gingerly. So to be aware and on guard, not to get into any type of a conflict or argument about it, because we're not supposed to do that. We can only be patient and stay in Yahuwah's peace and joy and wait on Him to develop each one of us to a higher level of spiritual understanding. You know, and He does that at different increments. And so one person may understand more than the other at any given moment. Some people may think they understand it, but are totally off track because they're slightly taking the context out of meaning, maybe doing a little, putting too much thought into it, perhaps, or listening to another man's interpretation, and kind of mimicking it without really thinking on their own about it and going to Yahuwah about it. Whatever it is, we're all in different steps and different levels and different increments of truth. And so none of us are probably right 100% on anything. And we're not going to really know the 100%. We're not going to be enlightened 100%, okay, come to full maturity, or perfection, absolute perfection, until Yahusha comes back, and gives us that. So, with that said, before we get started, let's get a really, 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 really good understanding that everything is Yahuwah. He's the all in all, the great all in all. He is everything, Okay, and everything was made by him, and for his pleasure, everything was made. Okay, nothing existed outside of Yahuah. Okay, he was it, Yahuah and Yahuah alone, until he decided to share his life, his living breath, with other creatures, and and decided to create. All right. So, uh, in other words, he created darkness. It didn't exist. He created evil. It didn't exist. All right. So we have to understand this. Okay, that everything came from him. Um, that if we don't have to totally um, understand why he did what he did, but who are we to question it? You know, it goes way beyond our ability to think. Um, so, before we get started, let's just um, make sure we have a good understanding of that. So, Isaiah 43, and let's go up to 5. 43:5. Do not fear, for I am with you. I shall bring your seed from the east and gather you from the west. I shall say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not keep them back. Bring my sons from afar, and my daughters from the ends of the earth, all those who are called by my name, whom I have created, formed, even made for my esteem. He shall bring out a blind people who have eyes, and deaf ones who have ears. All the nations shall be assembled, and the peoples be gathered. Who among them declares this and shows us former events? Let them give their witnesses to be declared right, or let them hear and say, it is truth. You are my witnesses, declares Yahuah, and my servant whom I have chosen, so that you know and believe me, and understand that I am He. Before me there was no all formed, nor after me there is none. I am Yahuah, and besides me there is no deliverer. I have declared and delivered and made known, and there was no foreign mighty one among you. And you are my witnesses, declares Yahuah, that I am all. Even from the day I am He, and no one delivers out of my hand, I work, and who turns it back? See, so there you go. There was nothing before him at all, and Yahuah is the one who made everything, including darkness and evil. Okay, so we're going to go into that here right now. For the sake of Yahuah, my servant. Okay, this is Isaiah 45:4. And for the sake of Yahuah, my servant, and of Israel, my chosen, I also call you by your name. I give you a title, though you have not known me. What title did he give us? The sons of light. Yahudim, Yahudai. We bear his name, right? We're called after him. He gave us that title, although we did not know him. I am Yahuah, and there is none else. There is no all besides me. I gird you, though you have not known me, so that they know from the rising of the sun to its setting that there is none but me. Now, with the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun, we know that the sun doesn't rise and set, correct? We pretty much figured that one out. So this is an idiom, and for the mind of the Israelites at the time, this is what they thought was happening. Okay, I am Yahuah, and there is none else. Forming light. You getting that? Forming light and creating darkness, making peace and creating evil. I Yahuah do all these. I Yahuah do all these. So here we go. We found out Yahuah was there alone. He was self-existing. All right, and so he formed light, forming light. Didn't he not form us? Were we not to be lights unto the world? He formed us, right? And creating out of nothing, created darkness, creating evil out of nothing. He created evil, making peace and creating evil. You see how the words are there? Forming light. Okay, so we know he's light, right? What's Yahuah? Scripture tells us Yahuah is a spirit, and he dwells in unapproachable light. So he can't be approached. I mean, you would probably die from the intense light. That's what I imagine anyway. So let's skip over to 18. It says, "For thus said Yahuah, creator of the Shemayim, he is all former of earth and its maker. He established it. He did not create it to be empty. He formed it to be inhabited." Okay, so he formed it to be inhabited, not to be empty. All right. So there we go. So there should be no doubt in our minds who created darkness and who created evil. Okay, and who created everything. Okay, it was Yahuah. He's the one that did it all. Now, I know people go way off in different directions on a lot of this stuff, and I think they're reading way more into it than what's really there. There's definitely a literal meaning that the flesh mind can grasp in Scripture, and then there's a spiritual meaning that only the spiritual mind can grasp. Okay, so I get that, but I think that some people put way more into it than what it is, and they take it out of context. Some stuff, I really do, because when I read things that they point out to prove certain philosophies, I don't get it out of it myself. And that's not me. That doesn't say that I'm right and they're wrong. But in my opinion, it seems like they're not. They're taking it way out of context. It's obvious. It's obvious to me that it literally is not saying that. So the only way it could mean what they're suggesting is if it was a spiritual message. But I'm not getting that either, But out of some of the stuff they say. So that's why we need discernment. We need to just be able to ask for that gift of discernment through the Ruach to let us know, is this what they're saying true, or is it just made up? They're off track. They might not be lying or trying to deceive you. They just may maybe off track for whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, um, let's look real quick at Genesis 1. Like I said, we've had this study and conversation 4 or 5 times now, but it's definitely worth retouching on because it comes up a lot. And like I said, it seems to be one of the great dividers of the body, the subject, So it's worth reiterating and studying again, just in case maybe we're wrong. Sometimes if you study a subject more than a couple times, sometimes you do start to get it, a little bit better. But and then sometimes it's like, yeah, I mean, it's no change there for me. That's what I think it means. So let's look at it. Genesis 1:3, verse 3. And Yahuah said, "Let light come to be," and light came to be. So back here in Isaiah, we read that it says, and there's none else. I am you. There's none else forming light and creating darkness. So obviously, there it is. Here's where he did it. But the funny thing about this is, and this is also a big controversy, and many, many different theories has come out on this. But here in this, let light come to be, and light came to be, and Yahuah saw the light that it was good, and Yahuah separated the light from the darkness, and Yahuah called the light day, and the dark he called night, and there was evening and morning the first Yom. And there's a lot in this. Okay, first of all, he didn't create the sun, the moon, and the stars, the great light and the lesser light, until the fourth day. This is the first day. So what's going on here? Well, it's pretty obvious. There's an obvious thing here. Up above that says, in the beginning, Yahuah created the Shemayim and the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Ruach of Yahuah was moving on the surface of the water. And Yahuah said, "Let light come to be." So I think the opening statement is a general statement that telling you that Yahuah created everything, just like Isaiah 45 told us. Okay, so Isaiah 45, verse 4 on down to 7, whatever, the whole chapter, if you will, explains to us that he created everything, even darkness and evil, right? And formed light, right? So I think this is the opening statement is a general statement that he created everything, and then let light come to be, and light came to be. Okay, so was there darkness before the light? Did he create darkness and then created a light? I don't think so, because he didn't create the sun, the moon, and the stars until the fourth day. So the generalization ended in the opening verses. See what I'm saying? So here it seems as though, to me, that he himself, there was a void or a darkness or something. He did something. He created a void or outer darkness or something away from himself. Almost like taking getting a picture, right? And you're getting ready to paint something, and you get a big giant platform or a paper or canvas or something, and set it up before you start creating your painting. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like in other words, he established the boundaries of his creation, so to speak, type deal. And it must have been all black, dark, you know, and it was the opening of the canvas, the beginning. Though and then he came in, he moved into this boundary type thing, and his light moved into it and lit it all up. If he did it outside of himself, or maybe he did it in himself, okay, and then he encompassed it. You know, he totally engulfed it. You know, who knows, man? You know what I'm saying? But what I'm trying to say is there seems to be some kind of perimeter now, other than Yahuah. See what I'm saying? So the light came to be he came into the perimeter. And he saw the light was good. He lit up the void or whatever, and he separated the light from the darkness. And Yahuah separated the light from the darkness. He himself separated that darkness when he came into that perimeter, or that canvas of what he was going to be putting his creation into. See what I'm saying? Because he didn't create the sun, the moon, and the stars till the fourth day. So there has to be something here. The generalization of creation's over. You know, that ended at, 1 and 2. When first 3 comes in, then he's starting to do stuff. So he generalized that he made everything in verses 1 and 2, so I'm suggesting. And then after that, he starts telling us what he did, very, very generally. Okay? And he called the light day, and the dark he called night. So if it's light, he called it day. You know, anything that is light means good. You know, it's good. Light is good. Goodness, righteousness. Okay, light is there's no darkness in the light. The light reveals the darkness, or it removes the darkness. See what I'm saying? So good light is good. Dark is evil, especially if there's no light in it. Usually there's a little bit of light and darkness, but if it's total darkness, the outer darkness, with no light whatsoever, then that would be, very similar to pure evil. You know what I mean? So he called the darkness night, Leah, and the light Yom, or day or night, you know. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. Okay, evening and morning, and then there was the first day. All right. So the evening and then the morning was the first day. You know, and I ain't going to get into arguing over the 12-hour day and all that. You know, there's videos. I've got videos out there on that. There's other videos on the websites on YouTube about that. Well, but I don't want to get all into that. I'm trying to focus here more on, light and dark. You know, if I can on this particular video. I mean, we have to touch on this, and then we'll get more into it. Especially, I want to talk about when the darkness came over the land, when Yahushua was staked, and it was 3 hours of darkness in the middle of the day. I want to get into that. That's what I really want this video to focus on the most. But anyway, we skip down here to verse 14. First Genesis says, and Yahuwah said, let light come to be in the space of the Shemayim, to separate the Yam from the Leah, and let them be for signs and appointed times, and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the space of the Shemayim, to give light on the earth. And it came to be so. So here, all of a sudden, on the fourth day, um, he's given us a calendar within his creation to use. Okay, because it's for to it's for us to keep track of signs, appointed times, days, and years. So it's a calendar, a natural calendar that he created in order for us to be able to track time. So we could track time. So he created time. Yahuah is not restricted by infinity, like some suggest. Okay, he's infinity is his creation. He created infinity. Okay, so he's not infinite in size. He's beyond infinite. He created infinite. Okay, and Yahuah made two great lights. Now, so that's why people say, I don't understand that. Why they say that when the moon comes out at night, what we call nighttime, that's darkness and evil. That we don't associate with that. It just right here it tells you he made two great lights. So it's not a darkness; it's just a lesser light. That's all. It's still a light. It's not the outer darkness. There's nothing to be concerned with there. It's still part of the day. It's just a lesser light ruling over that half of the yom. That's all it really is, man. You think about it harder, man. Okay, let's go on. The greater light to rule the yom, and the lesser light. See, lesser light. He ain't calling it darkness or evil. He's just saying the lesser light to rule the Leah, or the second half, or the darker half of the day. And also the stars. And Yahuah set them in the space of the Shemayim to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. Separate the light from the darkness is if you take outer darkness, pure evil, pure darkness, blackness, okay, and you put a light in there, whether it's a great light or a lesser light, just a candle or a matchstick, even in the astrodome that's totally dark, it's going to light it up. Okay, this might be a lesser light, but it's still going to light that darkness up. So light separates the darkness. There's a differential there. You see what I'm saying? It don't matter if it's a lesser light or a great light, it's still separating the darkness, the light. The darkness can't separate the light, but the light can surely separate the darkness. You see what I'm saying? And Yahuah saw that it was good. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning the fourth day. So there again, evening and morning, see, the pattern continues. So you can't just say, oh, that was just the first day. No, the pattern is continuing, evening and then morning, all the way through. Okay? So, and one thing I want to just throw out there, and I'm going to hit back on it again later, but, the moon, people argue over what's the full moon and the new moon and all this. Look, the moon itself is a dark disk. Okay, it's just there, hanging in our sight, close to us. Okay, it's just there. It's just a disk. Okay, that's it. Okay, and it's dark. There's no light in it at all. Okay, the only way that moon can have any light at all, it has no light of its own, is when the sun reflects on it. Okay, and then it gives it light. The sun gives the moon the light by reflecting off the face of the moon, and then it goes on and shines light onto the earth. Okay? See what I'm saying? So without the sun, the moon has no light of its own. Don't forget that. The 7 days of creation has an extreme amount of prophecy and in it, according that relates to the time allowed for his creation and what's going to happen. If you notice, in the first 4 years or the first 4 days, there was no life. No life at all except for Yahuah. Okay? And on the 4th day, he created the light. Okay? This light, okay, can represent the Messiah coming. Okay? And into the world is the light of men. To light up men, just like the sun lights on the moon and reflects the light onto the earth. He lights up man, uses the light of men, and then we reflect his light onto the rest of the world, like the moon does. And through the moon cycles, when it's full in its full illumination, totally fully illuminated, it's at its best light, right? It's producing its best reflection of the sun's light, right? So it's fully illuminated. And that's what we are at times when we're at our best. And then as we start to weaken and waver and we need refreshing, he gives it to us. We're kind of like the moon cycle. We get real bright, and then we start fading all the way down to a black disc, man, to where we're totally dark, and we don't have any light on us at all. We've lost it, man. But then he refreshes us, and the people that still have the full illumination, usually is who he uses to help us to refresh, and then he brings us back out of that darkness, and we build back up with his light. We build it up until we're fully illuminated again. Okay, and reflecting light upon the rest of the world. So you can almost kind of look at that as and also, you know, the sun being the light of the world is basically Yahusha. John the Baptist was the moon. He wasn't the light, but he had testimony of the light through the light shining on him and reflecting his light onto other people. And then he was commanded to immerse people for the removal of sins, temporarily, of course, just like animal blood was. There's different immersion that John the Baptist did than what we're immersed into the true pattern of Yahusha is. It's a totally different thing in Yahusha's name, you know, the true pattern of Yahusha. All right, so let's not get off track here, but hopefully that opens us up to, you know, kind of where we need to be. So let's go ahead and get on with the main study here, and try not to get too far off track, because it sure is this is a very broad and deep study, really. I know there's a lot of people out there squirming in their chairs right now, but this is not intended to argue with anybody or devalue anybody's research or knowledge that they may have obtained and how they feel. This is just a study. I'm just trying to study here together, peacefully and joyfully, that maybe we can all come up to a little bit of a better understanding here. You know, what's going on, so we can be a better light. You know, we can reflect his love more better. You know, and especially to the other body members. You know, so like I said, I want to kind of focus now on what this whole video's the intention of this whole video was, and that's the darkness that came over the land, or maybe even the world, when Yahusha was being staked. And you remember there was 3 hours of darkness, Okay, so let's kind of focus on that now and uh, see where it takes us to. So we start off in the Memoirs of Matthew. Okay, the Memoirs of Matthew reads, "From noon on, darkness came over the whole land." Now, like I said, this could be in reference to the whole land as Israel, uh, or it could be the whole earth. You know, we don't really know, but it came over from noon on to about 3 in the afternoon. So from the 6th hour to the 9th hour, it was dark. The author includes dramatic details which follows the death of Yahusha. Follows the death of Yahusha, okay, which includes an earthquake and the resurrection of the dead. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook and the rocks were split. The tombs were also opened, and many bodies of those who had fallen asleep were raised. The Memoirs of Mark concurs with the same timing of events, stating that on Preparation Day, Yahushua was staked at the 6th hour, or around noon, and darkness fell over all the land, or maybe all the world, from around noon, the 6th hour, until 3 o'clock, the 9th hour. It goes on to say that immediately after the death of Yahusha, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, but it never mentions any description of an earthquake or the opening of tombs. It's kind of strange because those would be dramatic events, especially the opening of the tombs. So why didn't Mark mention them? The writing of Luke similarly concurs with the length and timing of the darkness, but also neglects any description of an earthquake or the opening of tombs. Contrary to Matthew and Mark, however, the text mentions the tearing of the temple veil prior to the death of Yahushua, not after the death of Yahushua, and explains the obscuring of the sun as the cause of the darkness. It was now about noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon, while the sun's light failed. Some say the sun was eclipsed, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. It does appear that Luke was explaining the event as a miraculous solar eclipse. The majority of manuscripts or translations in Luke have the sun was darkened. But the earliest manuscripts say the sun's light failed, or the sun was in eclipse. The earlier versions may have been amended by later scribes to correct what they assumed was an error, since it was known that an eclipse was impossible during Passover, because Passover occurs during a full moon, when the moon is fully illuminated, folks, whereas an eclipse occurs during a new moon, or when the moon is totally dark disk hanging in the sky. Furthermore, a total eclipse provides darkness at one location during totality for a maximum of 7.5 minutes, whereas the Nazarene writings state that the darkness covered the land for roughly 3 hours. For these reasons, some scholars have suggested that the early texts attributing the event to an eclipse had been deliberately corrupted by adversaries, in order to make it easier to attack this event on a naturalist grounds. Furthermore, in the account of Yahushua's death given in the Memoirs of John, which is generally accepted by most who have been written much later and which focuses on different themes, events, and teachings than the synoptic writings, there is no mention of darkness at all, or the tearing of the veil, the earthquake, or the raising of the dead. Since it was well known in the first century era that a solar eclipse could not take place during Passover, because solar eclipses require a new moon phase, which is when the moon is a totally dark disk, while Passover only takes place during the full moon phase, which is when the moon is a fully illuminated disk. In other words, this 3 hours of darkness can only be considered a miraculous sign rather than a naturally occurring event. The famous astronomer Jonas de Sacrobosco wrote in his book, The Sphere of the World, the eclipse was not natural, but rather it was miraculous and contrary to nature. Even modern astronomers and writers who admit or regard this as a miraculous event tend either to see it as operating through a natural phenomenon, such as volcanic dust or heavy cloud cover, like a severe thunderstorm, or they just avoid explanation completely. As an example, the Reformation Study Bible simply states this was a supernatural darkness. Again, the writings of Luke's account states the sun was darkened. However, overall, scriptural details do not suggest it was an eclipse. Remember, a solar eclipse could not have occurred on or near the Passover when Yahushua was staked. And even if it did naturally, but we know it didn't, it would have been too brief to account for 3 hours of darkness. The maximum possible duration of a total solar eclipse is 7 minutes and 31.1 seconds. The only total eclipse visible in or near Jerusalem in this first century era occurred late in the year 29 AD on November 24th at 11:05 a.m. and was seen around the Sea of Galilee. It was only visible for just 1 minute and 49 seconds. Some believers and scholars attempt to explain the darkness in terms of sunstorms, sandstorms, heavy cloud cover, and even the aftermath of a volcanic eruption. For what it is worth, there does happen to be what they call a Hamson dust storm that tends to occur every year in that region from March to May, and typically does obscure the sun for several hours. Furthermore, have you ever considered what the moon does? That the moon does not have its own light at all, like we just talked about? Without the sun reflecting upon it, it is only a dark disk, barely visible to the naked eye. The moon is simply a dark object without any light of its own. The sun is what lights up the moon. It can be compared to us humans. Without Yahushua, whom is the light of men, we are simply dark vessels reserved for the fire. But with Yahushua's Ruach indwelling in us, we are the children of light, and we reflect his light onto the world. All the appointed times of Yahuah come during the fully illuminated moon, except for the Feast of Trumpets. It starts on the new moon, when the moon is totally dark. This was also known in the first century as the festival that no one knows the day or hour. Scripture plainly says and warns us, woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Well, there you go, folks. There's that study. And I'd just like to say, elaborate a little bit on that again. Light is good, even if it's a little tiny bit of light or a bunch of light. Okay, it's good. All right, if it's a lesser light, it's good. If it's a great light, it's good. Light is good. Period. Righteous. Okay. So much so that when Yahush's light reflects on us, comes upon us, and we reflect off to the rest of the world, we become a shining light on a hill, right? That others can see his goodness, see his light. He's the light of men. Men don't have a light on their own. We're like the moon. We don't have our own light. We rely on his light to guide us through the darkness. Okay. All right. If it's total darkness and there's zero light, no light tolerance of light at all, would be considered the outer darkness, then that's pure evil. There's no light there at all, So that means Yahuah is not there because he's light, right? Wherever he goes, it lights up, right? He's going to be the light in the new earth and new heaven, new Jerusalem. He's going to be the light. There's going to be no need for the sun or the moon or the stars. He's going to be the light of the world, which he already is, really. But this is beyond this carbon world that we're living in, and these carbon vessels that we're occupying are going to all be burned up. And I'm talking about in eternity. He's going to be the light. There's going to be no other light but him. He's going to light everything up. And we're all going to be like a full moon. We're going to be totally illuminated all the time. We're not going to fade like we do now down to a dark disk, and then he has to refresh us and bring us back up into his marvelous light. We're not going to be doing that anymore. We're just going to be fully illuminated all the time in his presence, where no evil can exist in his presence, in his light, evil can't exist. Darkness can't exist. Don't forget, he created it. Okay? So he can sure decreate it if he wants to, in which he's going to. We hit a little bit on the prophecy or the history of the world, which is hidden in the 7 days of creation. And Hosea, we've studied on this before too, but I think it's worth mentioning again that the first 4 days of creation, there was no life and no light. Okay, everything was dead and dark, right? Except for Yahuah. All right, he lit everything up when he moved into his canvas or his perimeter of the creation, what he was going to create, whatever he did there. And so the 4th day, he created the lights, right? Which is the birth of the Messiah, which came in the year 4000. 4 days, 4000th year, okay? And so then the last 2 days, the last 2,000 years after the Messiah walked on the earth, was staked and, buried and resurrected and ascended, ended that 4000th year. From then on, we have 2,000 years left, or 2 days left. Well, those 2 days or 2,000 years are the last days. The last 2 days. At the end of the last 2,000 year period, there's a 7 years left there. At the very end of that 2,000 years, there's 7 years left. That's going to be the tribulation years. Okay, that's going to be the grand finale of the devil. Okay, he's going to go nuts. He's going to be unchained, released, in order to do rev havoc on the world and mankind like no one's ever seen before. Okay, but then after that, that's it, Judgment Day. Okay, he's not going to be given a lot of time, but he's going to be given enough time to really mess things up bad. All right. So the best proof that I think that we have of that is in Hosea 6. In Hosea 6, it says, 1, come and let us turn back to Yahuah. So repent. For he has torn, but he does heal us. He has stricken, but he binds us up. After 2 days, he shall revive us. So after 2 days or 2,000 years, he shall revive us. Okay? So 4,000 years or the fourth day, the light came into the world, the Mashiach. Okay? You notice that nothing alive came until the fifth day. The fifth, and man was made on the sixth day. You know? You realize that? But anyway, after the second day, he shall revive us. On the third day, okay, after the fourth day, so that you got the fourth day, the light came, and then the 5,000th year, and then the 6,000th year, okay, to the end, comes the third day, which is the seventh day, or the Shabbat rest, right? Yom Shabbat. He shall raise us up. So after the 6,000 year period ends, man was given allotted 6,000 years, that, or his creation was allotted 6,000 years. On the third day, on our 7,000th year, he shall raise us up so that we live before him. So we're going to live before him on that seventh day, that Sabbath day. If we're going to have a Sabbath, 1,000 year millennium reign will be a Sabbath day. Will be a 1,000 year rest, where the earth will rest and we'll all rest in Yahushua. See that? So basically, it tells us that right there. After 2 days, he shall revive us. On the third day, he shall raise us up so that we live before him. So let us know, let us pursue to know Yahuah. His going forth is as certain as the morning, and he comes to us like the rain, like the latter rain, watering the earth. See that? Powerful stuff, man. Powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. So I hope that helps everybody, and yeah, this whole business just needs to be, everybody needs to just kind of stay in his peace with this, because it's not really worth dividing over. And I don't know really if man will ever recover and get back on track with the exact time, but we can surely be close. I mean, we can come close to it. I mean, I think we're close. Some are farther off than others. But as far as this dividing day and night, dividing the Yom, and saying that we're only, things only happen during the day because we're children of light, not of the darkness. Don't forget, man, that second half of that Yom is just the lesser light. It's not the abyss. It's not total darkness or the outer darkness or pure evil. There's light in that. The sun still reflects on that moon and sheds light on us, and we get light from the stars as well. Okay, so we're not in darkness when it's nighttime. We're just under the lesser light. They're both great. Said he made two great lights to rule over the day and the night. That's just division of the yom. The first part of the yom is brighter, it's a greater light. The second part is a lesser light, but nevertheless, it is a light. It's not the abyss or the outer darkness, folks. I don't know why everybody keeps calling it that, because Yahuah said it was good. Look up the fourth day. He saw it when he made the greater light and the lesser light, and divided the yom into day and night. He left light in the light, a lesser light, to rule over that at nighttime, the Leah. Okay, he didn't say that was the abyss or darkness and evil at all. What he said was, it is good. And evening and morning was evening and morning, the fourth day of creation. Yeah, he said it was good. Yeah, Isaiah told us that he created good, evil, and he created darkness, and he formed light. Yeah, it did say that. But what darkness? I don't think it was the lesser darkness that he's talking about there. I think it was the abyss, the outer darkness, annihilation, where there's no light at all exists there. If Yahuah ain't there, it's definitely going to be totally darkness. That's the abyss. That's the outer darkness. And Yahuah's not there, man. Okay? He created that for a reason. Mm-hmm. So anyway, that's about it on that one. So I appreciate you for watching. Hope to help somebody out there. So everybody, peace and love. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love Yahuah with all your mind, heart, and strength. And love your enemy. So long, folks. Bonus feature time. All right, folks, let's go to 1 John. John chapter 1. John Yahuchanan 1. Yahuchanan 1. I'm reading out the BYNV, like I always do, if anybody's curious about that. I really don't read out anything else, but might as well mention it, I guess, just for those who've never heard of it. If anybody happens to watch this and never heard of it, it's BYNV. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with all, and the Word was all. He was in the beginning with all, and all came to be through him. And without him, not even one came to be that came to be. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Very interesting, isn't it, that passage? There was a man sent from all, whose name was Yahuchanan. John the Mercer, right? The Mercer. John the Baptist. This one came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all might believe through him. He was not that light, but that he might bear witness of that light. He was the true light, which enlightens every man coming into the world. See that? So John the Mercer was not a light. Okay, he was a witness to the light. Okay, he was not that light, but that he might bear witness of that light. Okay, so Yahushua was the true light. So that's just like in that creation scenario, the sun representing Yahushua and the moon, John the Immerser. He wasn't the light, okay, but he bore witness of that light that reflected upon him and reflected out upon the rest of the world. Now, without the true light, you know, the man does not have his own light. We need his light. He's the light giver, the father of lights. We become children of light when he reflects his light on us out into the rest of the world so that we may be seen and witness of him and be the witnesses of him that he exists through his light in us for the rest of the world. We're a light on the shining hill, right? See that? It's kind of spiritual. It's a real, very spiritual and prophetic, really, but it's there and it's real. Okay. He was in the world. Speaking of Yahushua here now. And the world came to be through him, and the world did not know him. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. So he created the world and everything in it, but the world didn't know their own creator, man. So I'm saying, now who created everything? Yahuah. There's no other deliverer, there's no other creator than Yahuah. He did it all. Yeah. But as many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become children of all, to those believing in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the desire of flesh, nor of the desire of man, but of Elohim. So here we have another, once we'll go through the regeneration or the rebirth, right, through the true pattern of Yahushua, we have a new Father. We have a heavenly Father, the Father of lights. So our Father is no longer earthly of flesh. It's a heavenly spiritual Father. So we become children of light. We're his children now. Spiritual children. Because he's spiritual. We're spiritual. We're no longer flesh. Not if we've performed the salvation plan, if you will. There's a big difference between salvation plan and redemption plan of Yahushua. Redemption plan through his appointed times is how he's teaching us how he's going to redeem us. Okay, what's going to transpire through how it's all going to happen through the redemption. That's just redemption plan. Salvation plan is us walking in the true pattern of Yahushua. We put the old man off and bury him, stake him and bury him with Yahushua, and then we are resurrected with Yahushua as a spiritual man now, with a new heavenly Father, and we become children of light. We walk in the true pattern of Yahushua. So what we try to do is every day perfect ourselves into being more like Yahushua as we can, mimicking him as close as possible, until he returns. See? And the word became flesh and pitched his tent among us. And we saw his esteem as an only begotten of the Father, complete in favor and truth. Yahuchanan bore witness of him and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me has become before me, because he was before me. And out of his completeness we all did receive, in favor upon favor. For the Torah was given through Moshe. The favor and the truth came through Yahushua Mashiach. That's powerful stuff right there. Powerful, very powerful. I don't have time to elaborate on that, but man, you need to read over that and really dwell on that, folks. That's some powerful stuff right there. And out of his completeness we all did receive. We're receivers, okay? He's the giver. And favor upon favor. Yahuah's will that we go beyond the milk, being an infant, and grow into maturity, and it be his will, then he bestows upon us favor upon favor, because he works through us. We become the light, reflecting his light out to the world, and all his giving to other people comes through us to others. We become givers along with him, and we become one with Yahuah. See that? Very powerful stuff. For the Torah was given through Moshe. Okay. The favor and the truth came through Yahushua Mashiach. No one has ever seen Elohim, the only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he did declare. Now this was the witness of Yahuchanan when the Yehudim sent from Jerusalem priests and Levites to ask him, "Who are you?" So this was his witness when they came and asked who he was, John the Mercer. And he confessed and did not deny, but confessed, "I am not the Mashiach." And they asked him, "What then are you, Elijah?" So he said, "I am not. Are you the prophet?" And he answered, "No." Therefore they said to him, "Who are you?" So that we give an answer to those who sent us. "What do you say about yourself?" He said, "I am a voice of one crying in the wilderness, 'Make straight the way of Yahuah,' as the prophet Yeshayahu said. And those sent were on the Prushim, and they were of the Prushim, and they asked him, saying, 'Why then do you immerse, if you are not the Mashiach, nor Elijah, nor the prophet?' Yahuchanan answered them, saying, 'I immerse in water, but in your midst stands one whom you do not know, the one coming after me, who has become before me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to loosen.'" This took place in Beth Anya, beyond the garden, where Yahuchanan was immersing. On the next Yom, Yahuchanan saw Yahusha coming toward him and said, "See the Lamb of all, who takes away the sin of the world." And why did he call him the Lamb of all, or Lamb of Yahuah? Because the incarnation came to be the sacrifice for the sins of the world. This lamb came to die and to bleed and be sacrificed as the Passover lamb. See, John realized that, recognized that. So it wasn't Yahuah that was going to die. It was the incarnation, the fleshly body, that he was occupying, the vessel, the lamb, that was going to soon die for the sins of the world, take away the sins of the world by shedding his blood, right? Without the blood, there is no forgiveness, folks. You can't be righteous and obedient enough to gain righteousness without the blood of the Lamb covering you. If you think so, you're really misleading yourself. You need to get studying if that's what you think. This is he of whom I said, after me comes a man who has become before me, for he was before me. And I did not know him, but that he might be revealed to Yisrael. Therefore I came immersing in water. And Yehuchanan bore witness, saying, I have seen the Ruach coming down from heaven like a dove, and remain on him. And I did not know him, but he who sent me to immerse in water said to me, upon whom you see the Ruach coming down and remaining on him, this is he who immerses in the Ruach HaKodesh. So there you go, man. Yahushua is the one that immerses us in the Ruach HaKodesh, not with water. Yahushua, even though we get immersed in the name of Yahushua, we're following the true pattern of the Messiah. It's not him that's immersing us, okay, with water. He immerses us with the Ruach HaKodesh. So there's two immersions, one with water, one with the Ruach. And who immerses us with the Ruach? Right here. Upon whom you see the Ruach coming down, remaining on him, this is he who immerses in the Ruach HaKodesh. There it is. And I have seen and I have witnessed that this is the Son of Elohim, or Son of Yahuah. Again, the following day, or Yom, Yehuchanan was standing with two of his Talmudim and looking at Yahusha walking. He said, see the Lamb of all? And the two pupils heard him speaking, and they followed Yahusha. And Yahusha, turning and seeing them following, said to them, what do you seek? And they said to him, Rabbi, where are you staying? He said to them, come and see. They went and saw where he was staying, and remained with him that yom. Now it was about the 10th hour, which would be about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Andrew, the brother of Shimon Kepha, was one of the two who heard from Yehuchanan and followed him. First he found his own brother Simon and said to him, we have found the Mashiach, which means the anointed priest, anointed priest, high priest. And he brought him to Yahusha, and looking at him, Yahusha said, you are Simon the son of Jonah. You shall be called Peter, which means a stone. On the following day, Yahusha wished to go to Galilee, and he found Philip and said to him, follow me. And Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, or Nathan, and said to him, we have found him who Moshe wrote of in the Torah and the prophets, Yahusha of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathan said to him, is it possible for any good matter to come out of Nazareth? Philip said to him, come and see. Yahusha saw Nathan coming toward him and said of him, see, truly an Israelite in whom is no deceit. Nathanael said to him, from where do you know me? Yahusha answered and said to him, before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. Here he's prophesying to him, okay, about the fig tree prophecy. It's, in other words, he's going to be, he saw him in the kingdom reign, okay? That's what he's telling him, spiritually. Nathan answered and said to him, Rabbi, you are the son of all. You are the sovereign of Yisrael. Yahusha answered and said to him, because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? Greater than that you shall see. And he said to him, Truly, truly, I say to you, from now on you shall see the heaven opened, and the messengers of Yahuah ascending and descending upon the son of Adam. So there you go, folks. The light of the world. Okay? Light of the world. It's the light of the world. And he separated the light from the darkness. He's going to be the light in the new city, in the new world, in the new heaven. You know, he's the light of the world. He's the light of every man, you know. He's the life giver and the light of men. You know, without his light, we're doomed to the abyss, the outer darkness. A place that has no light is void of Yahuah. That's what that is. So you don't have to fear the second half of the Yom. You know, this is all, I don't know, man. Just a little bit out there, you know. But anyway, like I said, you know, sure, I didn't do this study to cause a division or argument or anything for sure. But I just wanted to touch on it and study it with you, and hopefully we all learn something from it. Okay. I mean, if we become one with Yahuah, are we not light? Because he's light. Yeah, we are. You know, we become light. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. Like this one guy was telling me one time about, you know, the sun representing, you know, Yahuah, and I think it was something. The stars were the messengers, or something like that. You know, representing the messenger. You know, that is all put into this carbon planned. You know, the universe that we live in. It was all like planned and created that way, you know, to represent all the messengers and Yahuah and all that and everything. You know, when we were put on this carbon planet in this carbon universe. I mean, it could be, man. I mean, I'm not saying it's not true. Or, I mean, maybe he did, you know, create everything and copied it after what was in the heavens, what he already created. Yeah, very well possible, you know. I don't see where it's a crucial thing, really. I mean, it's not. I don't see where it's a salvational issue whatsoever. You know, but it's interesting to talk about. You know, if you in fact have a conversation and talk about it, you know, if you're going to sit there and argue and fight over and quarrel, then it's not worth even bringing up. You know, it takes all the fun out of it. You know, you can have a lot of fun talking about Yahuah and his creation and scriptures, you know. But when people start arguing and quarreling and fighting over it, and there's no display of love, you know, we lose the fun. You know, we take all the fun and the peace and the joy out of it, you know, and then resentment comes in and heartache and hatred and that kind of stuff. And then people they start, well, I'm not going to talk to him anymore. He doesn't, he's saying stuff I don't agree with, you know. Well, when you do that, especially to a brother, what you're doing is you are separating yourself from Yahusha, because Yahusha's in that person, you know. So even though there's a disagreement, stuff like that, we need to learn to, you know, stay calm, stay in his peace, have fun with it, enjoy. Don't argue and quarrel and get into hatred and arguments and fights over it, because you're taking all the fun out of it, man. You know, you're making people feel bad. You're not supposed to feel bad when when you're talking about Yahuah. You're supposed to feel good, man. I mean, just hear them, man. Hear them out. Listen to their thoughts. You can't correct them. You're not going to change their mind unless they're asking you to. You know, if someone comes up and asks your opinion of something, and because they're confused about it or they don't quite get it, and you sit there and explain it to them, they say, "Yeah, okay, thanks, man. That was really bothering me. Well, I kind of get it now." That person ain't gonna argue with you. They're not gonna argue with you. But if they have a totally different opinion and they seem to be set in their on their that opinion, you know, for right now, just listen to what they say and move on to something else. I mean, you don't have to sit there and give them your opinion to contradict or be contrary to contrast to their opinion, because all that's going to do is cause a quarrel. And then you're going to try to see who can prove who knows who, or who knows best, or who understands it the most. Well, neither one of you is going to agree. You're both going to take a stand. That's how wars start. That's how fights start. That's how hatred is born. That's how you can conceive strife. You know. So yeah, don't take the fun out of it, man. Too many people are too heavy, on other people's opinions. Just let Yahushua will change whatever it is that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, they'll come around if it be His will. He may be having them not understand something for a purpose. Maybe there's a reason that they need to not understand something at that particular time, and maybe it benefits somebody else somehow. Who knows, man? I mean, we don't know the mind of the Ruach for sure. You can't even begin to think you do either. We're far from that. All we can do is yield to Him and let His mind rule over us. We can't be fighting the Ruach. So I guess that's it, man. Appreciate everybody that watches this, and spread love, man. Spread the love and the truth around. When somebody is hearing you and you're witnessing or giving testimony to someone, and you could tell that they're listening to you and they're liking what you're saying, even though they come back with a little bit of Christianity, throw some Christianity at you, but they're really legitimately interested in what you're saying because they've never heard it before, or maybe not the way you're presenting it. You got something going on there, but don't overdo it. Don't force them into a corner. Just stop it and let them absorb what you told them. The Ruach will take over, and they'll get real curious, and they'll start searching Him out on their own, and that's what He wants them to do anyway. If they won't hear you and they start arguing, and then they start quoting Christianity doctrine at you, or different things from other religions, then you need to just not talk to them anymore, because they're not hearing you. If they're not hearing you, they're of the world. Okay? If they're hearing you, then they may be a lost sheep. Okay? So you got to remember that. And so once you see that somebody's not hearing you, there's no reason to keep fighting and arguing with that person and making them look stupid, or trying to make them look bad, or embarrass them, or cause strife and envy and jealousy and hatred between you and them. You're not going to change their mind, just like they're not going to change your mind. So it's futile. I mean, it's foolishness, man. If they're not hearing you, they're of the world. Leave them alone. If they're hearing you and they're interested in what you're saying, then keep talking to a certain point, but don't push them into the corner. All right? You may just have found a lost sheep. All right. Thanks for watching, and remember to stay in love with Yahushua. And remember, folks, factions are not okay. Even if you've been able to conquer or perfect the set apart command, okay, to love your neighbor as yourself, okay, and you show partiality between people, especially brothers, you're sinning. That's a great sin. You need to be real careful about factions, grouping up together in little groups and acting like you're better than somebody else and blackballing them because they don't agree with everything that y'all say. You're just dumping, you're heaping hot coals on your head. That's what you're doing. You're embarrassing yourself. You may not be seeing it, but a lot of other people are. Okay? Through Yahuah. Remember, there's only one Ruach. There's only one lawgiver and one judge who can save or destroy. All right? So, remember, stay in love with Yahuah. So long, Nazarene. Beloved of Yahuah. So long, everybody.
Living water, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuah, Yahusha, living water, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuah. I sing out with praise to you. Your name is beautiful to me, my King. I sing out with praise to you. My heart desires to honor you, my Yah. I sing out with praise to you, Yahusha. Living Torah, Baruch haba b'Shem